Got another fantastic athlete, sports person, boxer in front of me, a man called Tyler Denny. 23 bouts, 18 wins. You're the current European champion. What's more important to you, the money or the legacy?
The money, 100%, man. The legacy, it's nice. As soon as you pack it in, however, you've forgotten it, yeah? And then there's the new kid on the block and stuff.
At the end of the day, if you're in business for yourself, you've got no one to fall back on. If you're a fighter, you've got no one to fall back on.
If I'm Tommy Fee, I'm fighting KSI. Do you know what I mean? What is the point of fighting a much harder fight for a lot less money? If we don't settle for less and know your worth.
Is money or legacy more important? That's a question I pose over to my next podcast guest, a man called Tyler Denny. He's a professional fighter, currently the European champion, and clearly wants to become world champion. Be happy, never content. Make sure you're subscribing and sharing the episode. Right, welcome back to the podcast, Steve Sully Study. Got another fantastic athlete, sports person, boxer in front of me, a man called Tyler Denny. Welcome to the podcast, mate, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
All good. So I think I mentioned in my voice note to you, Tyler, that I've done a little bit of boxing myself, and most of my podcast interviews are either with sports people like yourself, or entrepreneurs. Yeah. And the reason why I like to have these conversations with entrepreneurs or athletes is because I believe they share the same sort of mindset and the same belief system. At the end of the day, if you're in business for yourself, you've got no one to fall back on. If you're a fighter, you've got no one to fall back on. You will get found out in business or in the ring if you don't put the hard work in outside of business or outside that ring. And that's why I want to have these type of conversations with good people like you, mate. All right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So the first question I'd like to ask fighters, though, is, as we well know, there are the glitz and the glamour, there's the fame, there's the kudos, there's the endorsements, there's all the good stuff that goes with boxing. And when you look at people like Floyd Mayweather, when you look at people like Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, all the greats, right, they're making a shed ton of money. Yeah? And rightly so, because it's your business, it's your world, it's your career. But the reality is many boxers don't actually get to those heights. They might make a little bit of money and they get damaged along the way. So why did you, Tyler, choose to take such a risky route in life as a profession?
I started off just as an hobby, really. I mean, I was always more into football as a kid and whatever. And then I went amateur boxing. But to turn professional, I had a full-time job at the time, so it was always an hobby. Even it was still not until I had probably 6 or 7 fights, and then I started taking it a bit more serious then. But I just love it. I love the competitive nature of it, and I love fighting, to be honest. So, you know, if you can do that and get paid for it, even better.
I'm in business, right? And most businesses have a sales division, yeah. Because if you've got a product, service, system, even if you're a boxer, you need to sell yourself, right? And I've always been under the impression that you're either made in heaven or manufactured in earth. And what that means is you've got a natural ability to kind of talk and sell, and you've got to harness that skill, or you're completely raw and you've got to learn all the skills on the job. Would you say that the best fighters in the world are always made in heaven, or are they actually manufactured?
I think there's a variety of it. I think you could feel like for instance, you mentioned Floyd Mayweather. I think he's a bit more naturally gifted with the sort of stuff and the talking and whatever, whereas you can have like someone who fought like a Ricky Hatton, who's grounded, you know what I mean, hard work, and we got to the same sort of level and then ended up fighting each other. So I think you can be both ends of the scale, really. I do get what you mean, but it's a bit frustrating sometimes in boxing. Like, but sometimes no matter how good you are, it's what you can sell, and if you can sell yourself better, you'll earn probably more money than someone who's potentially better than you, like you see with the Misfits boxing and stuff now. But you know, fair play to them that they're selling themselves well, and people are buying into it. So money talks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was actually going to get onto this subject, but I was going to leave it a little bit later on. I've had a lot of boxers on the podcast. George Groves, Kieran Ajarko. I've had obviously Elliot Whale on, Bradley Skeet, Hamza Shiraz, Ryan Jennings. I mean, you name it. I've had quite a lot of boxers on. Ted Cheeseman, O'Hara Davis, and I do get mixed answers, which is this whole YouTube influencer type of boxing that we have on our screens today, as well as the traditional style of boxing. Is it a good thing for boxing overall, or do you think it's damaging the sport?
Not really that opinionated on it, to be fair. I think, for instance, if you take Tommy Fury into the equation, he's a light heavyweight, isn't he? Tommy Fury can earn millions from fighting KSI, or he could fight Dan Aziz, for instance, British champion, and get nowhere near that money. If I'm Tommy Fury, I'm fighting KSI. Do you know what I mean? What is the point of fighting a much harder fight for a lot less money? And I think realistically, I think we're all in the same position. It's hard to turn down, isn't it? If someone offered me a couple of millions to be on Misfits, I'm on there. It's too hard to turn down. You see it like now, say for instance, with the golf and the football, everyone going to Saudi Arabia and stuff, even the boxers are doing it because that's where the money is. So it's hard to turn down, isn't it? I think so, but I wouldn't say it ruins it. I don't think it enhances it either. It gets more people into certain things. Like when Tommy Fury fought KSI, like my missus and my sister was coming up to watch it and stuff, and they know nothing. I could ask them certain world champions, I've never heard of them, but it's mad the appeal that I've got. So, maybe boxing could take a little bit out of selling themselves out, how to sell themselves to make the events bigger.
Yeah.
It's hard, but like you say, but I think the casual might get carried away. Like my son, for instance, he's 7 and he thinks like Jake Paul and KSI and the biggest things ever in boxing. Do you know what I mean? So I just let him run with it now because I try and argue with him and it's like talking to a brick wall.
You actually said a really, really kind of not important thing, but like, okay, so here's my question. Someone offer you 2 million quid today to fight Jake Paul or one of these influencers. You're clearly the type of person that'll go in there and do a job on them, right? And you're going to go for the money. But then devil's advocate, someone over here, call him a hate or call him a critic, they may say, well, Tyler, you're selling yourself out. You're going after the money and you're not going after the legacy. What's more important to you, the money or the legacy?
The money, 100%, man. Legacy's only good. Look at Joshua now. Look how much critics he gets now. Do you know what I mean? People only care about you when they're winning. You start losing, it's he's no good. He's shit and whatever. Do you know what I mean? This is a guy who's Olympic gold medalist, 2-time heavyweight champion. And then if he's going to get that sort of stuff, what chance does the average guy get? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, 100% the money, and you can walk away with it. I got 4 kids and stuff, so. You got to think about it longer term, and it's not just yourself, is it? But even so, the legacy, it's nice, do you know what I mean? But as soon as you pack it in, however, you've forgotten it, yeah. And then there's the new kid on the block and stuff. So for me, it'd be an easy decision. Don't get me wrong, if I could earn that sort of money whilst getting the legacy, even better. But if it's either or, I'm picking the money. It's a short career as well, isn't it? Like boxers, when do you finish? I know people are going on a bit later now, but most people are finished by, say, 34, 35. So what do you do for the rest of your career then? You got potentially another 50 years of living. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I definitely hear that. Danny Garcia, right? His dad, who's a bit of a wacky guy, was being challenged once on an interview saying, they call Danny Garcia the cherry because you just cherry pick everybody. And you could kind of see maybe at his early kind of some of his career, he probably was doing that. And his dad surprisingly actually said, yeah, we are the cherry pickers because we're going to go after fights that we know we're going to win and make a huge amount of money. And we're going to save the harder ones to later on, because if you do lose them, you've already made all this money. And I think that was quite ballsy, because that shows the reality behind boxing. You look, if we were to convert that same conversation into business, right, and we were property people, Go and pick up all those properties. They're easy. You're going to make a lot of money off them. They're easy deals. And then try and buy some big places over in Mayfair. You may not do it, and it may cost you a lot of money in legals. But if you do pull them off, fantastic to you. No one criticises a person for doing that. Yeah. But when you got a boxer or a fighter, why are they so heavily criticised? Because you're taking easier fights.
I think the only people really probably criticising them are people not in that position. Do you know what I mean? Because you'd put them same people who are criticising them into that position, and I think 99% would probably do the same as the people they're criticising. It's all right getting a pat on the back and saying, well done, you had these hard fights, but then you're skint and you can't pay your mortgage and your bills and stuff. It's not helping, is it? And plus, a lot of boxers, that's all they know is boxing. So, say for instance, like I said, you finish at 35 or whatever, what do you do then? You've still got to get a living, ain't you? If you've not earned enough to, I don't know, buy a house or whatever, which, again, 95% probably of boxers don't earn that sort of money. So your 1% clubs, it's like, you know, someone tells you a professional footballer, you'd think Ronaldo and stuff really, but there's professional footballers out there on 500 quid a week or something, do you know what I mean? But it's just the title, everyone seems to think that you're minted and loaded and you got this and that, but it's not really the reality of it.
Yeah, I hear that. So yourself, right? 23 bouts, I believe you've done 18 wins. You're the current European champion and used to be the English Middleweight Champion. Am I right in saying you're 32?
Yeah, 32, yeah.
32. Now, you're not an old man. I'm 30, I'm 37. I don't class myself as an old man, but the reality is if I was a boxer, I would be seen as not a dinosaur, but, you know, getting on a bit. And, you know, a few years behind me is your good self, Tyler. Are you thinking about your next few moves? Are you thinking about the next 2 to 3 years, how much revenue you can get in, how many endorsements you can do, what titles you can pick up? What is basically your next 2 or 3 year plan?
Honestly, I've never really thought that deep into it. I just always want to win my next fight. If I set my goals to short term like that, and he's done me well so far, I've got 2 European champion. But I think if I set it too long term and then I want to do this and that, and I'm scared of taking my eye off the ball really. So I just always want to win my next fight, and then what will be. I think if I start making plans for after boxing or whatever, I don't want to get distracted with anything. I was a plumber before boxing, so I've always got that to fall back on. Hopefully I won't have to go back to that sort of stuff, but you know, it's a bit of reassurance. But yeah, I do. I openly say, look, I'd fight whoever gives me the most money. Do you know what I mean? And also, you take one loss in this game, is you can be in the who needs them club and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And it's tough unless some people keep going, like say, like Deutsch is always still in big fights and stuff. Do you know what I mean? But he's a big character, he's a big name. If I get a loss, it's probably not going to be the same way. Do you know what I mean? It might be, I don't know, on undercards of, I don't know, working your way back up doing a 6 or I don't know, or getting a short notice fight. So it's tough out there. So yeah, I get as much money as I can, to be honest.
Guys, I wanted to hop on here to once again thank the sponsors of this week's podcast, iSecure Vehicles. When we were searching around for sponsors for the channel, we honestly wanted to get a brand, a company that will give massive amount of value to our audience, and that is definitely iSecure Vehicles. They have a wide range of products which are designed to keep your vehicle, your asset, safe and secure. Some of those products are dash cameras, undetected immobilizers, and car tracking systems. Head over to iSecure to look at their products and make sure you say that the Stephen Sully Study podcast sent you there. Do you, there was another question I was going to ask you actually. I'll get onto it in a minute. Like, who springs to mind? Chris Eubank Jr., yeah? I think he's a fantastic fighter, but it does appear when he's tried to step up levels, not really the Liam Smith one. I do honestly believe he got caught with that punch in the first fight, and then obviously redeemed himself in the second. But the George Groves, Billy Jones Saunders, I think when he goes to that level, he does get found out. Unfortunately, I think he's a really good fighter, and I I've never kind of interviewed him, but I think he's a great person. But he seems to have made a lot of money because of that name and because he's got this persona, like the arrogance, and people either like him or hate him. Do you ever kind of reflect on your own career, Tyler, and think, if I put on a bit more of a persona, I could have probably made a lot more money than maybe how I am right now, for example?
Nah, never. I couldn't do it. I couldn't be someone I'm not. Do you know what I mean? I find it too awkward to even think about it. Like, I couldn't do it really. Like I said, as much as I'd like the more money and stuff, there's lines that I wouldn't cross over. I wouldn't be fake for someone or whatever. If that's how I was originally, do you know what I mean? I'd carry on and run with it. But it's not in my nature really. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, if someone gives a pop at me, I'm happy to give a pop back. But I wouldn't not really want to stir all the stuff and whatever. It might make it a bit more boring and you might have a bit less appeal. But yeah, nah, it's not for me.
Yeah, understood, mate. So for the average kind of fan, not the average fan, let's say someone getting into boxing for the first time, I know it's going to sound like a bit of a ridiculous question, but what is the difference, bar the title, between a European champion and a world champion? What's the big difference there?
What, as in talent-wise and stuff?
Yeah, maybe the mindset. Is it the talent? What is it that separates a world champion from a European champion?
I don't know. To be fair, I'm hoping to get there myself. Do you know what I mean? That's the next step on the line. Could be anything. There's been some great fighters who have never been world champions. Do you know what I mean? And some of them have been unlucky. Martin Murray and Matt Macklin have had some great fights. I think fought Sergio Martinez and could have gone their way. It's a tough one, and you look at some world champions who have been world champions, you think, wow, that they might have dropped a bit lucky there. I think you need everything to align for yourself as well, really. Like in anything, you can be as good as you want and everything, but sometimes, not everyone, but sometimes you need that bit of luck as well, don't you? Do you know what I mean? Getting the right opponents at the right time, maybe, or something going in your favour. Could be even be a head clash or anything. There's a lot of things, man, but I think you earn your luck as well.
Yeah.
So it's tough, isn't it? But hopefully one day I'll be a world champion. I can let you know.
No doubt, mate. We'll do the podcast part 2 in London when you're world champion.
Yeah.
So, as someone who is in the game, European champion, someone that's dedicated but going to become world champion in the future, and you've got a good few years ahead of you. Let's hope. When you saw the Tyson Fury against Francis Ngannou fight, what was your initial opinion when it was first announced?
I just thought it's a money grab. That was it, really. I thought, but that's another thing as well. For some of the numbers out there was crazy. Like, I don't know if they're even true, but 50, 60 million for fighting someone who's never had a professional boxing fight. Everyone would do the same, wouldn't they? And then obviously the plan was still to fight Usyk as well. So, but that nearly never happened, didn't it? And I remember watching it, I was shocked, and I'd have to watch it again. But I don't know if sometimes you give Ngannou range because you expect so much from Fury. Do you know what I mean? You did, especially when he got dropped as well. I was saying to because the only thing that's a bit annoying, I've got a few friends who are like into MMA and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And then you say he's got no chance, but yeah, he can bang. I said he's not even going to hit him. But like, I was well wrong, man. I was well wrong. He got all hands up. It's fact, man. He nearly took him out there, didn't he? If Fury had a bad day or whatever, or Ngannou just on top of the world. But I don't like to say when people have bad days, I think it takes the credit away from the other guy. Do you know what I mean? So they both had enough time to fight, whatever. So it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, would you say it might be a fair statement to assume or to suggest that Tyson Fury absolutely underestimated Francis Ngannou?
I mean, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Like, from his other fights and that, but he says it never. But what is that? It's hard to say. I think only Fury could answer that for you, couldn't he? But at the same time, I know he's not done any boxing, but he's still a big unit. Do you know what I mean? Ngannou, you wouldn't want him hitting. You would just say, yeah, I'd like to think even if I fought an MMA fight of that sort of stature, I'd be on the ball really, thinking he was kind of carrying the hopes of boxing as well. It was more than just a normal fight, wasn't it? It was the reputation of boxing on the line, and luckily just about scraped it over.
Yeah. I mean, some people did give Francis Ngannou the fight. Other people gave it to Fury just about. I think if you turn off the commentary and just watch it for what it is, I think Fury does win it. But, you know, you could see an argument why Francis Ngannou could have scraped it as well. In your opinion, who actually won the fight, Fury or Ngannou?
Like I said, at the time, I was thinking Ngannou, but I think I was probably just giving him some pity rounds. Do you know what I mean? Like I've seen some like little highlights on that back, but I think the rounds that Ngannou won was clear rounds, and then the rounds that Fury won. If you win a round, you win a round, don't you? So it was still a 10-9 to Fury, but there was not a lot of action. But he probably nicked him. But at the time when I finished it, I thought he's lost. Fury's lost here. So maybe if I watched it again, like I said, I've not watched it again. It's not a mad fight I was interested in. It was more just the spectacle. I was more interested in Wardley and Adelaide on the undercard, to be fair, which is a good fight.
That was very good.
Good fight, wasn't it? And they got silly money for it as well. So if I can get out to Saudi as well, I'd be straight putting my hand up, volunteering.
Defo. So we've got a big night of boxing coming up in Saudi, I think on the 23rd. I mean, have you ever seen a lineup like it? I mean, it's mental.
No, it's mad. Well, that's how you go with money talks, because all them promoters would have never worked with each other, would they? People have wanted them to work to each other for years. Like, just for instance, Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. I think that's the first time they've ever like sat at a table together and whatever. But everyone's willing to drop their egos when the money comes out. Which that's just the reality of things, isn't it?
Yeah. Just someone who's in the sport. Who's got the biggest ego, Frank Warren or Eddie Hearn?
I think they're both as bad as each other. And you know what? I kind of enjoy watching them dig at each other. It's a bit of entertainment in it, and then someone else is going to come back. I think Frank Warren's a bit more dry with it. You know what I mean? Maybe it's because of age and stuff, but it does still make me laugh sometimes. Eddie Hearn's similar, but you know. I think when the box is quiet, I'd love to see if you could get them to, you know, like a gloves off thing. I don't think it'd ever happen, but that you'd pay money to see that, wouldn't you?
You definitely would. And overall, do you have an opinion? Who do you think's actually a better promoter, Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren?
You know, Frank's come back, I think, a lot this year. And Eddie's obviously, I think Eddie's been. I don't think UK wise, I don't think they've been very good this year, but. In America is smashing it, but I'm Team Shalom anyway, Ben Shalom. So out of all of them, so if you ask me, Ben Shalom beats them both.
So you've got Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. You've got Joshua against Wallin, right? You've got Dubois against Miller. You've got Bivol against Arthur. I mean, these are great fights. Starting with. Joshua
and Jai Bataille versus Ellis Sorrow as well. That's a random one, isn't
it? Yeah. Joshua against Wallin. What's your prediction on that?
I think you got to pick Joshua, ain't you? But I think it could be a tricky fight. It's not. If I was obviously, I have nothing to do with Joshua, but if I was managing him, I probably wouldn't have picked a Wallin sort of opponent. Southpaw and uses his feet a lot. I'd like more of a straightforward in your face. I just think for the sake of British boxing, or whatever, Joshua done a lot, didn't he, for British boxing and big stadium fights regular and that. You'd like to see him fight with his confidence back, wouldn't you? And him versus Wilder would be a great fight, but I want it to see when Joshua's at his best. But like I said, he's adapted, and I think he gets a bit frustrated with people saying that, which I can understand, because it's one thing saying, yeah, go into this, go into that, but when you're taking them punches off 17, 18 stones guy coming back to you, it's a different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, like, this is actually really quite an important conversation, because Amir Khan people used to say he was a bit chinny, and that's why he would get stopped, quite frequently. But then if you look against, is it Peterson who stopped him in like his second, in the second round or something crazy? It kind of got wiped out pretty hard, and that seemed to stay with him for the rest of his career. And Joshua always looked really, really solid until he got put on his backside against Ruiz. And
well, I think as well, to be fair, I think it might have been the Klitschko fight before that as well.
True.
That might have put the doubts in his head as well.
Yeah, well, my friend who's been on my podcast twice, Mick Condon, good friend, love him to pieces. Sadly, lost on the weekend in Belfast and got stopped by a guy that is a very good fighter, but I did not see that coming. Yeah. And the argument is where that's happened to him 3 times now, against Leeward, and I think the other guy was called Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, was it Lopez or Lara? It was
Lara. Yeah, might be Lara.
I don't know, one of them.
Yeah. It seems like your brain is now finally tuned where when you get hit pretty hard in the head, it just wants to switch off straight away, whereas before it wouldn't have done that. Is that really a thing as a boxer? Do you see the logic and science behind that?
I mean, it's not happened to me, so I can't blame myself, but it looks that way, doesn't it? It does look that way. The thing is what some of the comments as well on certain people saying get knocked out, they say, oh, he's got no bollocks or whatever and all this stuff, I don't know. So every time Amir Khan got dropped, sometimes his worst thing was trying to get back on. His legs was all over the place, but he was in there trying to do things. Joshua got dropped 4 times and stuff against Ruiz. He still gets up and carries on. I'm not sure. I've not really been in that situation, and touch wood, it didn't happen. But there seems to be a theme, doesn't there? But it's not. Maybe it's a mindset thing, more of a reality thing. Thinking I don't want to get hit with them shots. For instance, Joshua, because there's a potential that I could get down and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And where it used to be like a bit more ruthless, a bit more entertaining. And then he's got all the money in the world, but like health is wealth, innit? There's no point having that money when you could be cabbaged up or something, not doing anything. And it's a dangerous game. So it's hard for people really to say, go and do this, go and do that, when you're not the ones taking the punches.
Yeah. And on the note of money, right? So Joshua, how much? What's his net worth? 100, 150 mil, 200 mil. I don't know what, but it's going to be up there, right? I mean, he's set for life, and so is his family. Do you think when you've got £100 million in the bank, it takes your edge away as a elite fighter?
Potentially, but then I think he could easily just say, I don't do it no more. Do you know what I mean? And he could live the rest of his life. I'm sure how much money he's got, like I say, it's a silly amount. He could not box. He could do what he wanted for the rest of his life. So I think it probably says something about him that he's still willing to go for it. Because it's not the fighting, really, I don't think. I think the fighting's probably, for me anyway, that's the fun part. It's going through the camps and stuff, do you know what I mean? Training, your body's aching, you've got to get up early and do some runs or whatever. I think if you can have that dedication still to that, with all that money in the bank, I think that does say something. I was speaking to Liam Davis in the gym just last week about it. He was saying, if I had like 100 million in the bank, I don't know if I could do this anymore. But like I say, until I'm in that situation, it's hard, because I think it's that love of it as well. But I think also that love of it can kind of be your downfall as well, because some people don't know when to stop. They can have all the money in the bank and stuff, but like I say, when you've done boxing your whole life, people don't know what to do, man. And then you can see people doing this and that or whatever, like, you know, with a Cal book thing afterwards. It could be a downward spiral. It's a tough one. I think it's an individual sort of thing. But me personally, if I lost the fire for it, I'd like to think I'd say that's enough, really. But I only can answer for myself. But I do look at them guys with like hundreds of millions in the bank, and I think, wow, I rate these guys for still putting themselves through this game. And look at the stick that they get and stuff. They could just go and live a quiet life into something else. I think when you're in such like a big name, I think, say if you use Joshua, you couldn't even walk to the shop, could you, and go and get some bread and milk without getting harassed or something? I think it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Does bit of a funny question, but does fame and recognition, does that drive you?
No. I'm like, I do everything. I don't want no more than I've got now. To be fair, my life's just exactly the same as before, from when I first started off to now, and I think ideally I'd like to keep that the same, as even if I progress, say be a world champion or whatever. I'm not in it for that. I've got no interest at all. I don't watch like any, Mr. Wants to put like Love Island or that, like not when I'm in the house. I've got no interest in all that sort of stuff. Like I don't know. I'm just a simple guy, really. If I want to watch TV, I'd put like football or boxing, some sort of sport on, or I don't know, some action film. I've got no interest in celebrity sort of lifestyles.
Yeah. Going back to this Saudi card, yeah. So Deontay Wilder is going to fight Parker. I personally believe that. I think Parker's a great fighter, but I just think he's just way too dangerous, Wilder. And I think he's just going to probably knock him out at some point. That's my honest opinion. They're saying that the winners, Joshua and Wilder will come head to head at some point in the new year. Honestly, who do you believe will win, Wilder or Anthony Joshua?
I used to always back Joshua. Like I was that confident that Joshua would beat him, but I don't know anymore, man. Because I think the way Joshua boxed his last few, he's been a bit hesitant, and Wilder only needs that one punch, doesn't he? But I'd like to. It depends what sort of tactics Joshua done. If he was a bit more aggressive, and not even aggressive punching, because if Fury fought him the second and third time and leaned on him, because Wilder's a lot lighter than these guys, isn't he? Could use a physical side against him. I'm gonna stick with Joshua, man. I'm gonna stick with him, but I can see why people would say Wilder all day. Do you know what I mean? He's got that dynamite punch, and he's not fought since. He knocked out Elanius, I don't know, how long is that? It was like 2 years ago or something. Don't know. So
18 months maybe. Yeah, 2 years maybe. Yeah.
But Joshua fought Elanius and went 8 rounds with him and didn't set the world alight, did he? So who knows?
And Fury or Joshua, who wins that one?
It's another thing, isn't it? Like, before, I would have picked Joshua 100%, and then say a year ago or whatever, I would have picked Fury 100%. But then when you see Fury's performance against Ngannou, it makes you think, well, I really don't know. I'd probably still pick Fury. Do you know what I mean? But he'd have to be a lot better than his last performance, wouldn't he?
Definitely. So, okay, just a couple more things from you, Tyler. So, I know you're European champion. 32 years of age, taking the fight by fight. What do you actually fear as not just a fighter, but also as a family man? You're a father, yeah. So I'm a dad. So I've got two young boys, 5-year-old, 2-year-old, and certain fears that I never had when I was single, I now have them slightly because I've got 2 young kids. It's not about me; it's about them. What they might miss out on. So what do you fear as a father and also as a fighter?
Nothing like that, to be fair. Maybe you should, but I don't think you can let them sort of feelings get it. Because if you thought about it too much, you wouldn't do boxing in the first place, would you? So the only thing I fear is I don't fear losing. I fear not putting in 100%. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can take a loss if the guy's better than me, but I couldn't take it if I let myself down in my training. I cut corners and that sort of stuff. When I could have won if I would have prepared properly and stuff. That's what I feel like, losing through lack of effort. Do you know what I mean? That's what I feel. I don't feel losing, but I fear of losing through lack of effort, because there's no excuse for lack of effort. So that's what pushes me on in my training, in my day-to-day life, everything. So I haven't got, like I say, I got no fear. I want to do everything possible. So then if I do lose, I can get to bed. I can get to sleep at night thinking I've done my best. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
That's the only thing that pushes me. Fear of not doing my best and not putting 100% in. And but I've got a good team around me, so that never happens. That never happens. I'm not allowed for that to happen. I think you need the right people. So if you go to something, if I went to a box gym on my own, I might, I don't know, think I'm doing my best, but then you got your coaches and your teammates pushing you on. You get that extra bit more, don't you? So I think that's important, really, having the right people around you.
yeah, definitely, definitely. What about, look at a Nick Blackwell scenario, right?
Yeah.
I heard, I don't know the ins and outs of it. Obviously, there was that very, very sort of brutal loss against Chris Eubank Jr. But then I heard he maybe got better, went to do some sparring, just chucked himself back in the deep end and kind of re-caused this life-changing injury. I mean, that can happen to the best of you, right? You know, I don't want to say ego took over, but you can see if you're a proper fighter and a proper warrior, no matter what happens, you always want to go out on your shield, regardless whether you're in a competition scenario fight or you're just doing sparring, because that's your makeup. Do you think that one day, like, you know, there could be a punch that you walk onto that could actually change your life forever?
I hope not. I hope not. But in this situation, I think it's different because you already had a major thing going on, and I think if the people he was with when he went into that gym to spar again cared about him, they wouldn't allow it to happen. So I think that was bad on them. Like I said, I don't know if there's any truth in it. I think there's good sources say that's what happened, but really, if I was thinking, if that was my friend and that had already happened in the fight originally, you got so if it is fighting for the British title, you wish him all the best luck in the world. But if that's already happened and you go back into the ring, and you know, if you was there at the time, I think you should look at yourself and think, why did you not stop that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'd be willing to fight my friend to stop him. Do you know what I mean? Or not fight him, because obviously, but let him hit me. Why not let him, you know what I mean? I'd do everything to do to stop him going into that ring at that time. So I don't know what to say to that. I think just bad people around him allowed that to happen. From his point of view, I can see he's got that fight in him still. Probably thinks he's better now, but everyone knows that it's not like you're not going to know that happened. It was like a national sort of thing, especially if you're with him at the time. You're going to know, that's Nick Blackwell, that's the guy who Eubank fought, and all that happened. So I think that was quite bad on the people that was there.
Yeah. So okay, what's your next few fights look like, Tyler? What's happening in the world of Tyler Denny, and where do you see yourself in as far as like the next few fights in order to get to world status?
Well, I've got the European now, so I should get ranked by the governing bodies. I'm just waiting for the new rankings to come out, and you never know what's to the corner, because if you're in them rankings, then you can get picked for a voluntary. So hopefully that could happen. But in the meantime, I think I'm fighting early next year. I'm not sure when. Yeah, but that's what I've been told, early next year. Defend the European, hopefully win, and in for a massive fight in the summer. That's the plan. But you know, in this boxing game, anything can happen, can't it? So yeah, I think the important bit is just staying ready all the time. This is what I do full time. So if I'm not training, what else am I doing? Do you know what I mean? That's all I do. I can't sit in the house for too long, or I'll get bored. So, and I can't trust myself to not eat out of the kitchen. So I just get in the gym 2-3 times a day, whatever, and keep active. Got the kids to keep me active. To keep busy training, and to take the fights when they come. I don't turn fights down, man. You just give me a fight and I'm there.
Yeah. You're in a very hard division, yeah? Obviously, people have got their eyes set on you because you're a champion, yeah? So, in your division, who do you look at and think, I need to go through this person in order to become world champion? Who would you say in your division right now is your hardest fight, Tyler?
In Britain, I'd probably say Eubank. And he's got the name as well. Like Eubank and Smith. I think Eubank and Smith will probably set a world, and then you've probably got, like, say if they're 1 and 2, you could have like 3 to 10, and I'm sure everyone would fancy themselves. Not saying they wouldn't fancy themselves against Eubank or Smith, but I think they've kind of earned the right to kind of like massive fights only. Do you know what I mean? It's a good division. Even in Britain, you got Hamza Shiraz, myself, Kieran Conway, Nathan Heaney's won the British. He beat Denzel Bentley as well, good fighter. Liam Williams. He's stacked, and then worldwide as well. And I bet it looks like the man. And you still got Charlo as well. So, but if any of them want to call me out for voluntary, I'm there, 100%. Down for it, man.
This is my last question to you, all right? I came up with my own mantra when I first started my business, and it goes like this: be happy, never content. Now, I've got my own interpretation of what that means, Tyler, but if I were to ask the professional fighter, European champion, Tyler Denny, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Look, I think it means what it means to you. Like, is a lot of people, especially with social media and stuff as well, they can think a lot of people are faking now. They pretend they're happy, but really they might be a bit content. But you can do what you got to do to be happy. Whether that's going across someone, I don't know, like against the grain. Do you know what I mean? But be happy. Don't settle. Don't settle for less than what you think, and know your worth.
Top man. Yeah. Thanks for your time, bro. I know you're probably in between training and stuff, or rest, or eating. So appreciate
eating
it,
time,
mate.
Man. Eating time.
All right. Well, look, hopefully we could get a podcast part 2 in when you're world champion and when you're in London.
Yeah.
We're staying in communications. This is going to be out in about a week's time, and I really, really appreciate it, Tyler. Thank you once again.
Okay. Nice one, top man.
God bless, mate. Bye bye, guys. Before we end this episode, I have to give one more mention to this week's sponsors, iSecure Vehicles. Now, I've already mentioned their products. They are the very best in what they do. They have a wide range of different services and different systems to protect your asset and your vehicle. Head over to their website to find out a bit more. Thanks for watching this week's episode. There's going to be some more exciting guests, some big names, and some really, really juicy episodes.